Most children learn about God. Some children have learned from God Himself. In this Sai Bhagavatam series, Together in Time, we will hear stories of children who learned from the divine form of Satya Sai Baba, lessons that transform lives and last a lifetime.
Sai Ram, I offer myself at Bhagwan's lotus feet with the utmost love and humility. And Sai Ram to my brothers and sisters and many children who may be watching this program. I was really blessed to have experiences with Bhagwan at a very, very young age. So I want to take you back in time, a few decades back, at a time when I was 15 years old. I was used to attending SSC classes. We were blessed to have a wonderful teacher by name Savitri Auntie. And we really look forward to attending the classes every weekend. Besides the classes, as a 15-year-old, I used to love to go to Sundaram, which is Bhagwan's Mandir in Chennai, where I grew up, and do service. We would do the food seva, take part as a volunteer in the free Sai clinic, and a number of other seva projects. While this was my life on weekends, my life at home was very different. I had all the trappings of being an irresponsible and given to an attitude of irreverence at home. And I thought I knew better than my parents. I was fond of playing cricket for the school, and as soon as school was over, we used to have games, and this would go on till we could play no more because it had become dark. And that was the only time I would decide to get home. And once I got home, it was a pretty set schedule. I would have my dinner as soon as possible and retire into my room to do my homework, etc. So this was my life. And this didn't pass muster with my mother, who would remind me often that this is not what's expected of a SSC child. And she would say that I'm using the home like a hotel. And I was living like a guest instead of a family member. So arguments would fly back and forth, and being a rebellious teenager, I was not the one to accept what my mother had lovingly put forth. And this went on for days, perhaps even years, to a point where my mom would go in front of the altar and pray to Swami, and often with tears rolling down her cheeks, saying, "How is it that I've given birth to such a son?" So this was the life I was leading. And as things would have it, I had the blessed chance to do service near Swami's room in Sundaram while he was on a visit to Chennai. And my duties included mopping the floor each morning, setting up the dinner table, getting the food organized, amongst many things that's expected of sevadals at that time. So I was enjoying Swami's proximity, darshans morning, afternoon, and evening, and wonderful interactions with Bhagwan. And this morning I was so busy mopping the floor. And back in the day, it was an old rug that one had to dip in a bucket of warm water with some disinfectant mixed in. Squeeze the water out of the rug on your knees, wiping the floor left to right, till you get done with the whole room. Needless to say, this was great exercise, and it demanded quite a bit of physical exertion, things that I was not used to doing at home. So here I was mopping the floor, and the rug made the sweep left to right, and I just heard a mild rustle, and the rug landed at Bhagwan's lotus feet. He had walked into the room unbeknown to me, and there he was standing in all his love and beauty, looking at me. He said, "See how you're working here, but at home you hardly lift a finger." He turned back and he murmured to himself, "What is the use? What is the use?" And he just left the room. So the lesson I took away from this interaction is that service starts at home. And Bhagwan himself has lived this message. He first served his own family. We all know the story of how he took care of his grandfather. We know the story of how Swami started the first water project in his village to satisfy the prayer of his mother, who wanted a well to be dug up such that the women wouldn't walk miles and miles to fetch water in the morning. The very first school was in his village, and the very first hospital was also in his village, before this massive projects that he initiated and completed to great success. So what Bhagwan did was show a mirror to me, and the unspoken message was that service in his own vicinity. I want to highlight one more thing that we as parents and teachers can take away from this. This was not an angry outburst. This was said with so much of love. If he had just stated the facts and walked away, maybe it would not have impacted me. I think the fact that he lived that message, and the fact that he said that with so much of love, made the message powerful. Powerful enough to affect a transformation in a rebellious teenager. So my life began to change at home. I gradually began to take part in doing what my mother would ask of me at home. And she was all the more happier, for Bhagwan had answered her prayers and had transformed me to be a better person at home. So I want to share another incident that happened at the same time. It was one of my duties to water this small pot that had a very small plant almost hidden behind the wash basin, where Swami would go right after his meal and wash his hands. One day I had forgotten to water this plant, and it showed. Instead of standing upright, the plant was drooping, and this would not have caught anybody's attention. As I said, it was placed under the wash basin. But this did not escape Swami's eyes. There's nothing that escapes his eyes. So he called me and said, "Why have you forgotten to water this? Go and water this plant." I complied immediately, and the plant sprang back to life. It was standing much more upright. And the lesson I took away from this, what seems like a very small, insignificant oversight of watering this plant, is the attention to detail, the attention to surroundings, and the attention to everything that matters. If only we imbibe that and take care of our surroundings. That plant was part of the temple where Swami was staying. And it was as important to take care of it as cleaning and mopping the floor, or setting up the table, or what have you. Right? And it is these little things, and it is this attitude that our home is a temple. This body is a temple. This body is a moving temple of God. And if we treat our surroundings with that reverence, I would submit to you that we would experience the presence of divinity in that very environment. It's not for nothing that it's been said, cleanliness is next to godliness. And it is in the detail that one can see the work of God. So, with these few thoughts, I want to thank the National SSC team for allowing me this opportunity to share and reflect and relive these moments with Bhagwan. And I hope you have taken something away from this. And I pray to Bhagwan that he bless all of us, and may he continue to grow in all our hearts. Sai Ram.